It's not all sunshine and roses, though. Right now, we have some issues. The AMI just is low in a lot of places. In the United States in general, it's under $50,000, which means that you can only build in certain places. You can only build where the AMI generally is around $80,000 or above. That means you cannot do these deals in rural areas where you've got an AMI of 50 to 60,000 unless you've got some other sort of kicker. The government's putting in the land, you have something else going. Another one, even if it's affordable, it may not be affordable for a lot of people. Pointed out, $1,800 a month for a 3-bedroom. I don't know. I'm not going to make that at Walmart. Just not going to be able to pull that off. The rents are so low, I told you that's a problem on the developer side. So there's a certain point at which we can't get enough tax credits into a deal to be able to afford to build them. Right now, the cost per door is anywhere from $250,000 to $600,000 per door to get these built on the ground. Do the math on that. $250,000 to the door on the low end is in an area where your rents might be $1,200 a month. You need a lot of offset for that to carry at a 7% interest. And then I already mentioned the bond cap problem and the fact that it's competitive. So a developer could go into one of these, put in a lot of money, a lot of time, not get an allocation, and now they're just out that money and time. So there's a lot of risk that these developers, in fact, some of them are starting to pull out of the industry as a result. Yeah, we can see the storm clouds gathering around, but we are trying to come up with solutions, at least the government is. There's been a lot of talk about this. One of it is moving the 50% test, which I alluded to earlier. That's 50% of the funding on a 4% deal must come from bonds, down to a 25% test. Why? Because 20 plus states currently are at or above their bond cap limits. And hopefully that will free up and make that side of the market less competitive, thus promoting more development there. Another one is just increasing HUD's budget. It was cut in 2011. It's never really been brought back up. That means that HUD doesn't have the funds to go in to provide those project-based vouchers, because those are what allow a 30% AMI unit to really go forward. If I don't have PBVs and I've got 30% AMI units, I'm paying $250,000 to build. My rents are $600 a month. The only way to do that is that where my rents are underwritten at $600 a month, I actually have a project-based voucher that's going to pay me $1,200 a month in order to allow that debt service to even be covered. And yes, you can underwrite at one number and actually be making more if you have a PBV contract behind something. And then the other way is look at ways to lower those building and development costs. Right now, about a quarter, National Association of Home Builders says about a quarter of the cost of the average single-family residential house is regulation. A lot of projects, right now I just saw some stats that say that the average garden rise 2-story apartment buildings taking 600 plus days, 2 years. Your average high rise taking 800 plus days, almost 3 years. And at least a year of that, I can tell you from working with developers face to face, is nothing but regulatory hurdles that they have to come up with. NIMBYism, not in my backyard, fighting with people, even if land is properly zoned. I don't want those people there. So those sorts of things add unnecessary costs to these deals, and then a lot of times just make them tank. They make them not go forward. And ultimately, that is something that has to be dealt with almost on a federal level, because we have a patchwork of regulations and you're dealing with each individual, sometimes sub-city within a city to get these projects approved. It's a nightmare. It takes a lot of time, adds a lot of cost. Building costs, of course, is another big thing. Bricks and sticks have gone up 30 to 50% since the pandemic. Those numbers are not coming back down no matter what we do. We cannot reduce the price of a brick and a stick because that is the factor of a commodity, a fixed commodity with a fiat currency. Therefore, since we have put so much more currency into the system, but we can't print in the same way. So we can't print in the same way a brick or a stick. Therefore, what we have is the reality that those costs have gone up by 30%. And so we either have to figure out a way to put more money in the system or we're going to get fewer units for the same amount of dollars. Some other interesting things that people are looking at right now that I've seen in the industry are using modular building. So far, preliminary numbers on that are looking like it's going to be about 20% higher than a stick frame, even with the elevated costs. The advantages of modular is that it delivers faster. Theoretically, you can get these on the ground in 12 to 18 months versus 24 to 36. The other advantage with interest carry cost, of course, is that you're not carrying that debt so long before you start getting tenants in. So we'll see how that plays out. Hotel to multifamily conversions, those seem to be an interesting play right now. Of course, the only problem is they're smaller, so 300 to 500 square feet. But those can work, and the costs, because they're already on the ground, are a lot cheaper than trying to build something from the ground up. And then, of course, there's office to resi conversions. That's been big on the news. What I've seen so far, though, is the numbers just don't work for those. And the reason why is that office, the MEP, mechanical, electrical, plumbing stacks run straight through the middle of those buildings. And in order to get that over to a residential, we have to be able to move those plumbing stacks. The cost is very high. And so you end up with $400,000 to $500,000 or more per door cost on doing these renovations, even when that office building was very close to being free.